Father, now that I dance in thy name, birds and animals share in thy song. All my sorrows, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame. All my sorrows, all my merriment, join in music to set hearts aflame.
Each week are taken from the book Rays of the One Light, with weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. And this is week 45. Faith is a call to prayer. Prayer is a call to faith. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 7 and 21, we read, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and doubt not, if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive." Paramahansa Yogananda showed by his own example that prayer is a power, provided we deeply believe in that power. When our thoughts and feelings are strongly focused and then united in growing awareness to the divine presence within, they can bring even seemingly unrealistic wishes to fulfillment. When Paramahansa Yogananda was in charge of his school in Ranchi, India, he took the boys on occasional outings to the surrounding countryside. There was a waterfall not far away, he told Swami Kriyananda, where I took them sometimes. It was dangerous to cross there, but I would cry out to the boys, "Do you believe in God?" "Yes," they would shout back enthusiastically, and so we always crossed in safety. Years later, after I'd gone to America, one of the teachers tried to do the same thing, but he lacked spiritual power. One of the boys slipped on a rock and was drowned. Thus the master explained, belief alone is not enough. It must be united to one pointed awareness which leads to self-realization. The Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter underscores the necessity for such one-pointed concentration. Whenever the mind, fickle and restless, wanders off from its concentration, let the meditating yogi withdraw it resolutely, spurning every distraction, no matter how alluring, and bring it back again and again under the control of the self. And thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Everyone. It's nice to be together. She's already introduced us. It's a big week. We have something happening on Tuesday that everybody's been paying lots of attention to, not only here but around the world. And I was thinking about reading, there's a little affirmation in here about making God the president of the world, which sounded like a really good idea. You know, there's an enormous amount of energy. Pardon? Yeah, that'd be fun. Thanks. There's an enormous amount of energy that goes into the surface things of this world, and every so often, you know, there's a mass hypnosis. You know, whether it's Super Bowl or this. We get caught up in the theatrics of the world. And I just want you to know, I'm going to give a disclaimer right now. Nothing in this world at this point is my fault. I voted for McGovern. And if McGovern had won, everything would be perfect right now, I promise you. So, no matter what happens, thank you. Prayer demand, asking God to be President of the United States of the world. Our Father, President of the United States of planets, galaxies, stellar systems, and universes. Thy democratic rule of free choice and individual evolution is bringing thy citizen children nearer and nearer to thy high ideals. Born in thy states of democratic free will, we inherited our celestial birthright of eternal, everlasting freedom. But alas, we squandered that inheritance through receiving it, though receiving it would have meant attaining omnipresence, and imprisoned ourselves instead in debt consciousness, behind bars of sense enjoyment, evil deeds, selfishness, and small-minded, narrow patriotism. Teach us, Father, to melt the fancy frozen boundaries of family, society, and national identity with the warmth of our love and understanding. He goes on. No matter what happens on Tuesday, Wednesday, we all get up again. And we have the same task, really. I want to speak to us as truth seekers. Everybody has to choose in this world what they're going to pilot by. What is it that is going to, what do you have your happiness tied to? What do you have your joy connected to? I will be happy blank. And that's what will guide your life. That's what will guide, this is a scary thought. I just want to tie a truth. This is a fact. Yogananda assures us that every single desire you have has to be fulfilled before you're free in God. And that's an eternal commitment. We reincarnate life after life after life after life. So just ask yourself, how much desire do you have around Trump or Hillary becoming president? Because one of them is going to lose, or maybe both of them. And if they don't win, that means you have to come back another time where they are till they become president. It's as insidious as that, honest to God. We have to choose how we're going to live in this world and what's important. And one of the beautiful things that these masters brought into this world, and that Swami Kriyananda made possible through Ananda, is we can either be constantly trying to navigate by the surface of this world. Let's get this person elected and that person elected, and let's do this, and let's hope that that blank wins the Super Bowl, and then we can be happy. Or we can decide something else. We can set our sights on things that are within our control. We can create a life that's worth living from inside out. And that's the call of the great masters across all time and across all religions, all nationalities, forever and ever. And it's to live from inside out, to go deep into the wholeness that's already there, into the joy that's already existing. And then if we're compelled to come back, bring our attention back to this world, then to act from that standpoint. And Ananda is an extension of exactly that effort. Ananda exists all over the world now. It's a sweet story about Swami Kriyananda in the early days of Ananda, when there was just Swami and a handful of people, and they were sitting around in a geodesic dome in the middle of the foothills of the Sierra Nevada with nothing around except trees and animals and dirt roads and stuff. And he would sit there in this dome and say, one day Ananda will be a global event that will uplift and bless all of humanity and all of life. People would look around, and there were drips leaking from the ceiling into pots. And they'd look at themselves, and nobody had 2 nickels to rub together. And they just go, he says so, it must be true. And here we are living that event. We just traveled on pilgrimage to India. It's a little like going to a different planet. All the rules, all the guidelines, all the things that animate life are completely upside down there. The value of going there is not only entertainment value, but it's interesting. Think about how you hold Ananda, how you hold your love of God, how you hold your yearning for truth, and your devotion, your commitment to that in our culture. And everywhere you go, you kind of have to fortify yourself and keep kind of reasserting that this matters to me, because it gets swept away in ego asserting music and thoughts and energies. This is a culture of ego. This is a culture of rajas and outward energy and dynamics, but it was all kind of ego-driven. It's not kind of ego-driven, it's deeply ego-driven. And, yet we're all here because we know inside that something far more precious is calling to us and more real. And when you go to India, what happens is you all of a sudden find yourself immersed in an entire culture. India's smaller than we are, but they have 5 times as many people, 4 times as many people as we do. And they are doing, you know what they're doing? The whole culture, they're doing Ananda fortissimo and with great enthusiasm. They are doing, their whole culture, the very soil itself is steeped in a deep and abiding love of the divine. And everywhere you go, when I say I think it may not be 100%, but it's like in the 95th percentile. Every single vehicle you see has got a little altar on the center of the dashboard. Everywhere you go, there are temples and shrines and words, and they name their store Shiva's store. They name their store Lakshmi's, blank. It's a constant reminder that the divine is at the center of life everywhere you go. And you can go and there's chanting all day long. Varanasi is an enormous city. Calcutta is an enormous city. Calcutta has like 20 million people. And the city itself dresses itself up for Durga Puja, for Diwali. The whole city just dresses up. It's like Christmas, only they remember that, and they make icons. They build these great icons, and to celebrate the power of spirit through that form. What you feel, because again, India is struggling deeply. It's in real trouble in many ways. It's trying to reclaim its prosperity on a material level, so that's where its attention is. But when you're there, you remember that it's not odd to love God. You remember that it's not odd to have deep devotion to something beyond just the surface of this world. And you can live deeply in that. But you know what happens? When you leave India, a part of you just goes, there's a part of you that wakes up and goes, oh, I'm so glad I'm here. When you leave India, there's a major part of us that just goes, I'm so glad I'm not there. Because it's crazy on the surface. It's wild. And the call of spirit is deep and still and inward and quiet. But what you realize when you come back and you go to Ananda events and you really genuinely meditate and you really chant, you have kirtan, when you really go deep into the presence of God through the great gifts these masters have given us, through the practices they've given us, in the support of each other, what you find is we live the very deepest and most powerful thing that this planet holds, that India holds in terms of spiritual presence. I love the little topic about praying, believing. Jesus is talking yogically. He's saying it's really life comes from inside out, and your thoughts, your concentration, your connection to spirit dictates what happens in life. There was an area, I think must have been California last year or the year before, that was in the supreme drought, and a minister and his congregation were deeply concerned about it, and so he said, let's do this. Let's take the words of the Bible and let's go ahead and apply them. Let's have a prayer circle. And we'll come all together and we will do exactly what Jesus said. And everybody gathered and they're going to pray really, really deeply. And the minister looked out and he says, we can't do this. And they said, well, why not? He says, because not a one of you really believes this. And they said, well, how can you say that? He says, nobody brought an umbrella. We have to go, we have to go past the doubting mind at a major level. But the way we do it, the most powerful way we can do it, is to go ahead and take our time to remember Yogananda's guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. He said, everything in future will improve. Everything will get in line with divine harmony if you're making spiritual effort now. He didn't say some things will get in line eventually, maybe. Everything will improve. Everything will improve if you're making spiritual effort now. One of the places we visited in India, we were in the town of Puri, where Sri Yukteswar, the same master, had a seaside hermitage, and where he passed away in 1936, and where his body is interred. It's a very powerful place to go and meditate. But right down the street, actually in the same town, just outside of town a little bit, there's another ashram. There's several. Right down the street is an ashram that was founded by the last direct disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya, Sanyal Mahashaya. And it's a very powerful place. And you walk by, to get there, you walk by a large temple and grounds that are being reconstructed that are dedicated to Adi Shankaracharya. Again, he created the Swami path, Swami order, many, many years ago. So everywhere you go, you're just tripping over all of the spiritual wealth across the ages. But just outside of town, there is an ashram. It's a beautiful, it's a rural ashram of all things. It was very, very lovely, very uplifted, of Sri Totapuri. Sri Totapuri was a great spiritual master. He lived for 300 years. The last 150, he lived in, last 100 or so, he lived around Puri. But prior to that, or in the middle of that, he was the guru of the great saint Sri Ramakrishna Paramhansa. And Swami Vivekananda is a disciple. He was one of the first ones that came to the United States to bring the teachings of India back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. 1893, the year that Yogananda was born. Yes, and 95 again. Yes. So, anyway, Sri Totapuri, Ramakrishna was absorbed in the love and devotion to God. He was absolutely absorbed in love of God, but his love of God was dedicated to Divine Mother. And he just completely, every time he would go into an ecstasy, Divine Mother would be there. Mother, make me mad with thy love. Make me drunk with thy love's wine. Some of us laugh, some of us weep, some of us dance with thy sweet joy. That's a Ramakrishna chant. And he couldn't get past that. He couldn't break free of that. And Sri Totapuri was there, and he was trying to help Ramakrishna go into the infinite, go past that into absolute connection with Spirit. Because see, even forms of Divine Mother, everything that's a form, everything that's of this world is limiting. It holds our consciousness back from the expansion into the infinite. And that limits our joy. It limits our wholeness. The problem isn't with the images of Divine Mother. It's the fact that it's still too small to satisfy our soul. So just as a way of helping us remember how earnest we need to be, this little illustration. Finally, Sri Totapuri, in the middle of an ecstasy, Sri Totapuri looked down and he grabbed up a piece of broken glass and he ground it into Ramakrishna's spiritual eye. And he said, "Concentrate here." And in that moment, Sri Ramakrishna broke through and achieved final liberation. The Bhagavad Gita, and we quote it every week, says, even a little practice of this inward religion will free one from dire fears and colossal sufferings. We don't have to wait until Sri Totapuri shows up and grinds glass into our spiritual eye for something good to happen. Every time we meditate, every time we reach inside, every time we go into the spine and bring our consciousness up here, something changes inside of us. And that thing that changes inside of us drives our reality and the reality around us. You know, we're so concerned about the foods we eat. We're so concerned about the air we breathe. We're so concerned about, and we should be. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's very important to care for the harmony of nature. Oh God, beautiful. That's why we sang it this morning. Father, now that I wander with thee, you know, we should feel connected. And the disharmonies that we're concerned about in terms of our nutrition and the air we breathe and everything, they're really reflections of our concern for the harmony of life beyond just human interest. But we need to not get caught in the surface of even those things. Think about the last time you felt truly loved. Think about the last time you fell in love, or somebody just did something that left you feeling so completely loved. And think about how little concern you had for any of the surface details of life. All there was goodness. All there was a sense of connection and expansion. And you just wanted to share it with everybody. You just wanted to share it. You just wanted to spread it out and connect it with everything. And in that state, there was no disharmony you could do. There was no hurt you could proffer to anybody. There was no, or a creature. All there was just a sense of blessing. That's the call of the Masters. That's the call of this path. And if we put our time and energy into that, harmony happens automatically. Blessings flow from us. That's why these guys are up on the altar. They just remembered that completely. I would like to invite all of us and each of us this week and going forward to not get caught in the political dream, to not get caught in all the ups and downs, to not get caught in all... We should live appropriately. We should live responsibly. We should live caring about the things that are out there. And we should choose and select things that reflect our highest values. Of course we should. And we should do it with great enthusiasm and great vigor, but not getting caught in it. We should live in this world but not be of it. And keep our minds constantly focused on the presence of that love, the presence of God. I'm going to end with a sweet little poem from Yogananda. It's one of my favorites and has been forever. It's I Am Here. And it just talks about the difference between living caught in the world, living on the surface, and what happens when we dive deep inside and remember and find the presence of God. Alone I roamed the ocean's shore and watched the wrestling waves in brawling roar. Alive with thine own restless life, thine angry mood in ripply quiver, until the violent vastness made me shiver and turn away from nature's violent strife. And then I walked inland, a kindly spreading sentinel tree waved friendly arms to comfort me, consoling me with gentler looks sublime. Its leaves and branches swayed in tender lullaby rhyme, conveying a message that I knew was thine. Above me high, I saw the gaugeless mystic sky, and childlike, in dim valleys sought to pry thy secrets and to play with thee. In vain, alas, did I seek thee hiding there, cloud-robed, foam-sprayed, leaf-garlanded, too rare for mortal eyes to see or ears to hear. And yet I knew that thou wert always near, as if playing hide and seek with me, receding each time I almost touched thee. I groped for thee in the maddeningly complex folds of dark ignorance, old as time is old. At last, in dim despair, I ceased my search for thee, O thou royal sly eluder, everywhere and yet seeming nowhere, lost in unplumbed space, where none may clasp thee or behold thy face. Yet despairing, I ceased my fruitless search and turned away from thee. Still no answer from the wrathful sea, and only whispers from the friendly tree. Naught but silence from the limitless blue sky, silence from valleys low and mountains high. Like a hurt child, within the depths of me I hid and sulked, no longer seeking thee. When lo, unheralded and unseen hand snatched from my eyes that all-black band which had so blinded me with fold on fold, no longer weary, but with strength untold, I stood and gazed again. A laughing sea instead of wrathful roars, a gay, glad world with mystically open doors, with only mists of dreams between. Beside me, someone stood unseen and whispered to me, cool and clear, "Hello, playmate, I am here." Let's take a moment of silence.
The song this morning is entitled "Home is a Green Hill."